Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm here to do another reading, and yeah, we're going to be starting with what's it called here? Chapter 2 of these lore books, the in-game lore books that I've been covering so far on this channel. If you missed my other episodes, you can go and open up this channel and there will be some further episodes, and I'm slowly adding timestamps to each of them, so you can kind of, like, if you really want to go through the timestamps, you can. So yeah, so this is going to be the New World, and we're going to cover a couple of the stories here, and we're starting off with the founding of Quel'Thalas. We last left off with the Night Elves banishing the High Elves. And yeah, I guess this is the episode where they do that. So yeah, let's dive in. Let me know if you enjoy, and leave any suggestions and stuff in the comments. Okay, cool. Let's go. The founding of Quel'Thalas. Duskwood, Scholomance, Darkshore. The High Elves, led by the Dathramar, left Kalimdor behind them and challenged the storms of the Maelstrom. Their fleets wandered the wreckage of the world for many long years, and they discovered mysteries and lost kingdoms along their sojourn. Dathramar, who had taken the name Sunstrider, or He Who Walks the Day, sought out places of considerable lay power upon which to build a new homeland for his people. His fleet finally landed on the beaches of the kingdom men would later call Lordaeron. Forging inland, the High Elves founded a settlement within the tranquil Tirisful glades. After a few years, many of them began to go mad. It was theorized that something evil slept beneath that particular part of the world, but the rumors were never proven to be true. The High Elves packed up their encampment and moved northward toward another land rich with ley energies. As the High Elves crossed the rugged mountainous lands of Lordaeron, their journey became more perilous. Since they were effectively cut off from the life-giving energies of the Well of Eternity, many of them fell ill from the frigid climate or died from starvation. The most disconcerting change, however, was the fact that they were no longer immortal or immune to the elements. They also shrank somewhat in height, and their skin lost its characteristic violet hue. Despite their hardships, they encountered many wondrous creatures that have never been seen in Kalimdor. They also found tribes of primitive humans who hunted throughout the ancient forest lands. However, the direst threat they encountered were the voracious and cunning forest trolls of Zul'Aman. These moss-skin trolls could regenerate lost limbs and heal grievous physical injuries, but they proved to be a barbaric evil race. The Amani Empire stretched across most of northern Lordaeron, and the trolls fought hard to keep unwanted strangers from their borders. The elves developed a deep loathing for the vicious trolls and killed them on sight whenever they were encountered. After many long years, the High Elves finally found a land which was reminiscent of Kalimdor. Deep within the northern forests of the continent, they founded the kingdom in Quel'Thalas, and vowed to create a mighty empire which would dwarf that of their Kaldorei cousins. Unfortunately, they soon learned that Quel'Thalas was founded upon an ancient troll city that the trolls still held to be sacred. Almost immediately, the trolls began to attack the elven settlements en masse. The stubborn elves, unwilling to give up their new land, utilized the magics which they had gleaned from the Well of Eternity and kept the savage trolls at bay. Under Dathramar's leadership, they were able to defeat the Amani warbands that outnumbered them 10 to 1. Some elves, wary of the Kaldorei's ancient warnings, felt that their use of magic might possibly draw the attention of the banished Burning Legion. Therefore, they decided to mask their lands with a protective barrier, which would still allow them to work their enchantments. They constructed a series of monolithic runestones at various points around Quel'Thalas, which marked the boundaries of the magic barrier. The runestones not only masked the elves' magic from extra-dimensional threats, but helped to frighten away the superstitious troll warbands as well. As time wore on, Quel'Thalas became a shining monument to the High Elves' efforts and magical prowess. Its beauteous palaces were crafted in the same architectural style as the ancient halls of Kalimdor, yet they were interwoven with the natural topography of the land. Quel'Thalas had become the shining jewel that the elves had longed to create. The Convocation of Silvermoon was founded as the ruling power over Quel'Thalas, though the Sunstrider dynasty maintained a modicum of political power. Comprised of 7 of the greatest High Elf lords, the Convocation worked to secure the safety of the Elven lands and people. Surrounded by their protective barrier, the High Elves remained unmoved by the old warnings of the Kaldorei and continued to use magic flagrantly in almost all aspects of their lives. For nearly 4,000 years, the High Elves lived peacefully within the secluded safety of their kingdom. Nevertheless, the vindictive trolls were not so easily defeated. They plotted and schemed in the depths of the forest and waited for the numbers of the warbands to grow. Finally, a mighty troll army charged out from the shadowy forest and once again laid siege to the shining spires of Quel'Thalas. Arathor and the Troll Wars. Hillsbred Foothills, Ironforge, Scarlet Monastery. As the High Elves fought for their lives against the Trolls' fierce onslaught, the scattered, nomadic humans of Lordaeron fought to consolidate their own tribal lands. The tribes of early humanity raided each other's settlements with little heed for racial unification or honor. Yet one tribe, known as the Arathi, saw that the Trolls were becoming too great a threat to ignore. The Arathi wished to bring all of the tribes under its rule so that they could provide a unified front against the Troll warbands. Over the course of 6 years, the cunning Arathi outmaneuvered and outfought the rival tribes. After every victory, the Arathi offered peace and equality to the conquered people. Thus they won the loyalty of those they had beaten. Eventually, the Arathi tribe came to include many disparate tribes, and the ranks of its army grew vast. Confident that they could hold their own against the troll warbands or even the reclusive elves if need be, the Arathi warlords decided to construct a mighty fortress city in the southern regions of Lordaeron. The city-state named Strom became the capital of the Arathi nation, Arathor. As Arathor prospered, humans from all over the vast continent traveled south to the protection and safety of Strom. United under one banner, the human tribes developed a strong, optimistic culture. Thoradin, the king of Arathor, knew that the mysterious elves in the Northlands were under constant siege by the trolls, but refused to risk the safety of his people in defense of reclusive strangers. Many months passed as rumors of the elves' supposed defeat trickled down from the north. It was only when weary ambassadors from Quel'Thalas reached Strom that Thoradin realized how great the troll threat truly was. The elves informed Thoradin that the troll armies were vast, and that once the trolls had destroyed Quel'Thalas, they would move on to attack the Southlands. The desperate elves, in dire need of military aid, hastily agreed to teach certain select humans to wield magic in exchange for their help against the warbands. Thoradin, distrustful of any magic, agreed to aid the elves out of necessity. Almost immediately, elven sorcerers arrived in Arathor and began to instruct a group of humans in the ways of magic. The elves found that although humans were innately clumsy in their handling of magic, they possessed a startling natural affinity for it. 100 men were taught the very basic about the elves' magical secrets, no more than absolutely necessary to combat the trolls. Convinced that their human students were ready to aid in the struggle, the elves left Strom and traveled north alongside the mighty armies of King Thoradin. The united elf and human armies clashed against the overwhelming troll warbands at the foot of the Alterac Mountains. The battle lasted for many days, but the unflagging armies of Arathor never tired or gave an inch of ground before the troll onslaught. The elven lords deemed that the time had come to release the powers of their magic upon the enemy. The 100 human magi and a multitude of elven sorcerers called down the fury of the heavens and set the troll armies ablaze. The elemental fires prevented the trolls from regenerating their wounds and burned their tortured forms from the inside out. As the troll armies broke and attempted to flee, Thoradin's armies ran them down and slaughtered every last one of their soldiers. The trolls would never fully recover from their defeat, and history would never see the trolls rise as one nation again. Assured that Quel'Thalas was safe from destruction, the elves made a pledge of loyalty and friendship to the nation of Arathor and to the bloodline of its king Thoradin. Humans and elves would nurture peaceful relations for ages to come. The Guardians of Tirisfal, Stormwind City. With the absence of trolls in the Northlands, the elves of Quel'Thalas bent their efforts towards rebuilding their glorious homeland. The victorious armies of Arathor returned home to southlands of Strom. The human society of Arathor grew and prospered, yet Thoradin, fearful that his kingdom would splinter apart if overextended itself, maintained that Strom was the center of the Arathorian Empire. After many peaceful years of growth and commerce, mighty Thoradin died of old age, leaving Arathor's younger generation free to expand the empire beyond the lands of Strom. The original 100 Magi, who were tutored in the ways of magic by the elves, expanded their powers and studied the mystic disciplines of spell weaving in much greater detail. These Magi, initially chosen for their strong wills and noble spirits, had always practiced their magic with care and responsibility. However, they passed their secrets and powers onto a newer generation that had no concept of the rigors of war or the necessity for self-restraint. These younger magicians began to practice magic for personal gain, rather than out of any responsibility towards their fellows. As the empire grew and expanded into new lands, the young magicians also spread out into the Southlands. Wielding their mystical powers, the magicians protected their brethren from the wild creatures of the land and made it possible for new city-states to be constructed in the wilderness. Yet, as their powers grew, the magicians became ever more conceited and isolated from the rest of society. The second Arathorian city-state of Dalaran was founded in the lands north of Strom. Many fledgling wizards left the restraining confines of Strom behind and traveled to Dalaran, where they hoped to use their new powers with greater freedom. These magicians used their skills to build up the enchanted spires of Dalaran, and reveled in the pursuit of their studies. The citizens of Dalaran tolerated the magicians' endeavors and built up a bustling economy under the protection of their magic-using defenders. Yet, as more and more magicians practiced their arts, the fabric of reality around Dalaran began to weaken and tear. The sinister agents of the Burning Legion, who had been banished when the Will of Eternity collapsed, were lured back into the world by the heedless spellcasting of the magicians of Dalaran. Though these relatively weak demons did not appear in force, they did sow considerable confusion and chaos within the streets of Dalaran. Most of these demonic encounters were isolated events, and the ruling magicrats did what they could to keep such events hidden from the public. The most powerful magicians were sent to capture the elusive demons, but they often found themselves hopelessly outmatched by the lone agents of the mighty Legion. After a few months, the superstitious peasantry began to suspect that their sorceress rulers were hiding something terrible from them. Rumors of revolution began to sweep through the streets of Dalaran as the paranoid citizenry questioned the motives and practices of the magicians they had once admired. The magicrats, fearing that the peasants would revolt and that Strom would take action against them, turned only to the group they felt would understand their particular problems: the elves. Upon hearing the magicrats' news of demonic activity in Dalaran, the elves quickly dispatched their mightiest wizards to the human lands. The elven wizards studied the energy currents in Dalaran and made detailed reports of all the demonic activity that they beheld. They concluded that although there were only a few demons loose in the world, the Legion itself would remain a dire threat so long as humans continued to wield the forces of magic. The Council of Silvermoon, which ruled over the elves of Quel'Thalas, entered into a secret pact with the magicrats' lords of Dalaran. The elves told the magicrats about the history of ancient Kalimdor and the Burning Legion, a history which still threatened the world. They informed the humans that so long as they used magic, they would need to protect their citizenry from malicious agents of the Legion. the Magicrats proposed the notion of empowering a single mortal champion who would utilize their powers in order to fight a never-ending secret war against the Legion. It was stressed that the majority of mankind could never know about the Guardians or the threat of the Legion for fear that they would riot in fear and paranoia. The elves agreed to the proposal and founded a secret society that would watch over the selection of the Guardian and help to stem the rise of chaos in the world. The society held its secret meetings in the shadowed Tirisfal Glades, where the High Elves had first settled in Lordaeron. Thus, they named the secret sect the Guardians of Tirisfal. The mortal champions who were chosen to be guardians were imbued with the incredible powers of both the elven and human magic. Though there will only ever be one guardian at a time, they held such a vast power that they could single-handedly fight back the Legion's agents wherever they were found in the world. The guardian power was so great that only the Council of Tirisfal was allowed to choose potential successors to the mantle of guardianship. Whenever a guardian grew too old or wearied of the secret war against chaos, the council chose a new champion, and under controlled conditions, formally channeled the guardian power into its new agent. As the generations passed, guardians defended the masses of humanity from the invisible threat of the Burning Legion throughout the lands of Arathor and Quel'Thalas. Arathor grew and prospered while the use of magic spread throughout the empire. Meanwhile, the Guardians kept a careful watch for signs of demonic activity. Ironforge, the awakening of the dwarves, Daenerys, Lochmadan, Ironforge, the Barrens, Mulgore, Blackrock Depths. In the ancient times, after the Titans departed Azeroth, their children, known as the Earthen, continued to shape and guard the deep recesses of the world. The Earthen were largely unconcerned with the affairs of the surface-dwelling races, and longed only to plumb the dark depths of the earth. When the world was sundered by the Well of Eternity's implosion, the Earthen were deeply affected. Reeling with the pain of the earth itself, the Earthen lost much of their identity and sealed themselves within the stone chambers where they were first created. Uldaman, Uldum, Ulduar. These were the names of the ancient Titan cities where the Earthen first took shape and form. Buried deep beneath the world, the Earthen rested in peace for nearly 8,000 years. Though it is unclear what awakened them, the Earthen sealed within Uldaman eventually arose from their self-imposed slumber. These Earthen found that they have changed significantly during their hibernation. Their rocky hides had softened and become smooth skin, and their powers over stone and earth had waned. They had become mortal creatures. Calling themselves dwarves, the last of the Earthen left the halls of Uldaman and ventured out into the waking world. Still lulled by the safety and wonders of the deep places, they found a vast kingdom under the highest mountain in the land. They named their land Khazmodan, or Mountain of Khaz, in honor of the Titan shaper Khaz'goroth. Constructing an altar for their Titan father, the dwarves created a mighty forge within the heart of the mountains. Thus, the city that grew around the forge would be called Ironforge ever after. The dwarves, by nature fascinated with shaping gems and stone, set out to mine the surrounding mountains for riches and precious minerals. Content with their labors under the world, the dwarves remained isolated from the affairs of their surface-dwelling neighbors. That marks the end of today's episode. Next, we're going to go to the next in-game lore bit called the Seven Kingdoms. And yeah, we're going to continue on from there. I think there's only a couple pages left in Chapter 2, so we might be able to finish that up for the next video. But anyways, if this is the first one that you're seeing from me, I hope you subscribe and hang out, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you so much.